Okay, so everyone familiar with today agenda, what we are going to cover. So in this 5-day MuleSoft training, actually we will start with introduction. Since before going to development, there are lots of things you should have good understanding of that. Otherwise, it will be difficult to understand uh, direct development. Okay, so before development, we will cover all the basic things what we need for MuleSoft development. Okay, so first we will cover introduction of integration and MuleSoft. So what is integration and then what is MuleSoft? Then we will cover introduction of API. So we will understand what is API, what all kind of API we have. Okay, and next we will cover software and application required to work on MuleSoft. So what all software, what all web application we will use to understand MuleSoft and to work on MuleSoft. And then in last we will discuss about API LED architecture and API lifecycle. Okay, so that will also be part of this session only. Okay, so if anyone has any doubt, then you can send in chat. Better I will prefer to send in chat only, and at the end of this session I will take all those questions. Okay, so first we will start with introduction of integration and MuleSoft. Okay, so I hope most of you are from integration background only. Maybe some of you are working on Oracle SOA, some of you are working on other integration technology, but still there are few people who are very beginner. So for them I will cover what is integration from very basic. Okay, so let's understand one real time scenario. Here you can see we have four people. People A no English, people B no Hindi, people C no Spanish, and people D no French. Now, due to their language barrier, they are unable to communicate with each other. Since this person know English, but this person don't know English. So even if this person will say something, will send any request, this person will unable to understand that. Okay. So to avoid this kind of problem, they came with one approach. What they did, they hired few translator. Okay, so this translator know both English and Hindi. Okay, now if this person want to communicate with this person, so this person will send message in English. Now this translator will translate that English message in Hindi format, and then this translator will send that message to this person. Now this person know Hindi. Okay, so now it's able to understand that request. Based on that request, whatever message he received, based on that he will reply something in Hindi. Okay, now this translator again will take that Hindi request, or you can say response, and this translator will translate that Hindi message or response from Hindi to English and will send to this person. Okay, so in this way person can speak in English and person can speak in Hindi, able to communicate with each other with the help of this translator. Similar way you can see within each different people we have one translator, and that translator know particular language. Okay, so with the help of this solution they are able to communicate with each other. Same way integration technology also work. In an organization there can be multiple heterogeneous system. They can't communicate with each other, they don't know each other technology. Okay, so they can't communicate directly with each other, so they know someone in between who can translate message from one format to another format and can exchange data. Okay, so we have one solution, that is point to point solution. After that they came with another solution. They found one device. This device can read any language and can return in any language. For example, if this person speaking English, then this translator will take that English message and this translator will translate that English message in Hindi format and will pass to this person. Now when this person will say in Hindi, this translator again take that request and translate in either Spanish or English or French language and pass to particular person. Okay, and this one is one of the you can say best approach. Okay, so single device able to handle all those kind of requests. Okay, so again I will say integration technology work in this way only. Okay, so integration technology know how to communicate with each device, how to communicate with heterogeneous devices. Okay, it take request and it can transform that request in target system format and send that message to target system. Okay, now we will see actual scenario where integration technology works. So here you can see in an organization we can have multiple system. For example, we have CRM system, we have database system, we have legacy system, we have ERP system, we have some internal applications, and we have some business process system. Now these all are heterogeneous system. Maybe some system written in .NET, some system is written in Java, some system is SaaS application. Okay, so we have different system. These all system are heterogeneous system. They can't communicate with each other directly. Why? Since they don't know each other technology. Message format of each system is different. For example, maybe this internal application return message or accept message in JSON format. Maybe some legacy system accept or and return message in XML format. Okay, so since these all system are heterogeneous system, they have their internal implementation in different technology. They accept different kind of message format. So that's why they are unable to communicate with each other directly. So what integration technology will do here? It will help all the system to communicate with each other with the help of this integration technology. So for example, CRM system want to connect with ERP system. So first CRM system will send request to integration technology. Now integration technology will do required transformation, and integration technology has capability to communicate with each system with the help of connector, adapter. Okay, so now this integration technology will use required connector to connect with ERP system, and it will transform that message in the form of ERP. For example, from here we are getting XML message. Okay, and we are getting first name and last name, but this ERP system accept JSON format, and this ERP system want only name. Okay, so they don't want first name and last name. So what we will do here, first we will convert that message from XML to JSON format, and then we will combine that first name and last name inside name, and then we'll pass to this ERP system. So in this way these two systems will able to communicate with each other. Okay, so that is the importance of integration technology. I hope everyone clear with this concept. Since we are going to learn MuleSoft, so why this integration, all those integration technology comes in picture, so everyone should have idea. Okay, now next, so there are few famous integration technology available in market. First one is MuleSoft, then Oracle Beeple, then Oracle Service Bus, then TIBCO, Delboomi. We have another like APIG. So there are lots of famous integration technology available in market, but we will be focused on MuleSoft. Okay, since this is entire 5-day training will be focused on MuleSoft. Okay, so first we will understand a bit about MuleSoft and then we will go ahead. So MuleSoft is one of the famous integration technology available in market that provide integration software for connecting application, data and device. So as you can see in this diagram, so here you can consider as a MuleSoft. Okay, so MuleSoft is integration technology that has capability to connect with all the heterogeneous system and can help them to exchange data. Okay, in our organization. Now MuleSoft founded by Ross Mason and David Rosenberg in 2006. Okay, they initially they come with name as MuleSource, where mule means donkey work. Okay, so they just want to escape donkey work, so that's why they have given name as a MuleSource. Okay, and then in 2009 they changed that MuleSource to MuleSoft. Okay, and in 2018 MuleSoft is acquired by Salesforce. So now it's a part of very big brand value. Okay. Next, here you can see MuleSoft, how MuleSoft working as a integration technology. So you can see here we have MuleSoft in between different system. For example, we have Twitter, we have Salesforce, we have another internal system, and we have another internal system. So MuleSoft helping these four systems to communicate with each other. Okay, so maybe in a single integration, okay, in a single functionality, there may be integration in between 3 to 4 system. There may be only 2 system, so that depend. Okay, so here we have 4 system communicating with each other with the help of this MuleSoft API. Okay, so MuleSoft working as an integration technology here and helping other system to communicate with each other. Okay, now before going to means development and all, we should have basic knowledge of what is API, what is web service. Okay, since mostly we will use this term API and API. Okay, so if anyone has understanding of API, then it's well and good, and if someone is very beginner, then he will understand like what is API, then only he will able to understand why we are calling every time API and all. Okay, now so first, API is the acronym for Application Programming Interface. So what it do, whenever user make any request to target system, then it take request from user, or you can say source system, and it send that request to target system. Okay, now from target system, API take response and send back to source system, or you can say user. Okay, so it helping them to exchange data in between. For example, if you see next diagram, so you will be more clear. Like here we have application A and application B. Okay, so application A want to communicate with application B. Okay, so what application A will do, it will create a request and it will call API. Okay, now what API will do, API will take that request and it will pass that request to application B. Now application B do some calculation, whatever based on request, he will do some calculation and he will create one response, and again that response, API will take that response and will pass to application A. So in this way, API is a programming interface which helps two systems to communicate with each other. Okay, so with the help of MuleSoft also we will create API. Okay, so MuleSoft helping us to communicate different heterogeneous system. Okay, next, so if you take any real-time example, then you can take waiter as an API. How? So see, for example, I am a customer, I went I goes to any hotel, and there waiter will come to me and he will ask what all item you want from menu. Then I will give some request like I want item A, item D and item C. Okay, then he will take that request. He don't know anything about kitchen. Okay, so he will just go to kitchen and he will pass that request to Safe. Now Safe will take that request, that is target system. He will, based on request, he will create items and he will give that item to this waiter. Now waiter will take that response or prepared food and will come back to customer. Okay, and will serve that food. Okay, so customer send request to waiter, waiter will go to kitchen, he will take prepared food and he will again respond back to customer. So in this way, waiter also working in same way as API. Okay, so this real-time example will help you to understand API very well. Okay, next, so this one is a very basic structure of any API. Okay, so any API has first part is operation. Okay, operation means what to call. For example, we have any book management system. Okay, so I want to retrieve book or I want to get the detail of book. Okay, so there I will pass get and resource name inside operation, means I want to retrieve book from book management system. So that is operation. And in input what I will do, I will give book name, like I want this book. Okay, in output I will receive that particular book. And underlying data type means what kind, means what will be structure of our input message and what will be structure of our output message. Okay, so whenever we will create any API, we have four main component. First one is operation, what operation we are going to do. Second one is input. So in input we should pass some request, you can treat as a request. And output we will get some response. And underlying data type means structure of request and structure of response. So it can be XML, it can be JSON, it can be CSV file. Okay, so now after this API we need to understand what is web service. Okay, so web service is a piece of code available on internet. Now you will say our API is web service or not. So when we will host our API on internet, then our API is also will be a web service. Okay, since web service is a piece of code available on internet, now our API is also available on internet since we host it on internet. So in that case our API will also be a web service. Okay, now we will see what all kind of web service we have in market. So currently in market we have two famous web service. One is SOAP web service and another one is REST web service. So first, SOAP web service, we will understand what is SOAP web service, and then we will understand what is REST web service, and we will be more focused on REST web service since REST web service is very famous in market nowadays. Since that REST web service has too many advantages, so we will see one by one. So first one is SOAP web service. First of all, we will understand what is SOAP. So SOAP, you can say Simple Object Access Protocol. Okay, so this one is a protocol, and if we create any web service using this protocol, then that web service will be SOAP web service. But we will see like SOAP web service has too many restriction and limitation. So what is that? So SOAP web service allow only one message format, that is XML message format. If we are getting request, as I told, if you see here, for any API we will get input. Okay, but in case of SOAP web service accept only XML format. If we are getting in different format, then what we need to do, first we need to convert that message into XML, and then only we will able to do rest of the operation. For example, we are getting in JSON format, so first we need to convert that JSON message format into XML message format, and then we will able to proceed. So that is the limitation, or you can say restriction, with SOAP web service. Another one is SOAP define standard to be strictly followed. So whenever you will create any SOAP web service, first you need to create WSDL file, and there are lots of you can say standard you need to follow whenever you are working on SOAP web service. Okay, next one is SOAP works on the HTTP protocol. So similar to other web application, SOAP also works on the HTTP protocol only, and SOAP web service needs more bandwidth for its usage compared to REST web service. That's why REST web service getting much more popularity, since SOAP web service needs more bandwidth compared to REST web service. And last point about SOAP web service is SOAP web service has their own security framework. That this one is a plus point with SOAP web service. So they follow OWSM security framework to secure SOAP web service. Okay, so since we will be more focused on REST web service, so this is a very basic detail of SOAP web service, but we'll learn about more REST web service in detail. So first we will understand what is REST web service. First of all, what is REST? So REST stand for representation state transfer. Okay, so whenever we will create any web service using this REST architecture pattern, then that service will be REST web service. Okay, now we will see all the advantage of REST web service. What we have: REST need less bandwidth compared to SOAP web service. Okay, so this REST API will be faster compared to SOAP web service. And why? Actually, REST web service accept all the message format. For example, JSON, XML, HTTP, plain text. Okay, so every time it doesn't require the initial transformation what we need in SOAP web service. If we are getting JSON payload, we can directly process that JSON payload. We don't need to convert in any particular format. Okay, then REST web service do not have their own security framework, and it's rely on HTTP security framework. So we had one advantage with SOAP web service, but still REST web service we have HTTP security framework, and we will use that to secure our REST web service. Now REST can make use of SOAP web service. So we can call any SOAP web service using REST web service. So you can see few difference here, like performance wise, REST web service is better than SOAP web service since it requires less bandwidth. Then REST web service support multiple message format. It can be plain text, it can be XML, it can be HTML. And this REST is not a protocol, this one is architecture pattern. In SOAP web service we follow one protocol, that is SOAP protocol. But here we are following one architecture pattern. Okay, I hope everyone clear till this point. So now we will do more detailed discussion about REST web service. So few things we need to understand about REST web service. Okay, so first one is HTTP methods. So whenever we will create any REST web service, we need to define method, what all method we are going to use. So in HTTP mostly we will use 5 methods. So we will discuss one by one what all these methods are. So first one is get method. So whenever we want to retrieve resource, then we will use get method. For example, I want to retrieve detail of book. Okay, I want to fetch the detail of book, then I will use get method. Okay, so whenever we want to retrieve the information of resource, we will use get method, and post method we will use whenever we want to create a new resource. Okay, for example, I want to insert new book in database, then I will use post method. Delete method we will use to delete a resource. For example, we have 10 book in our database, I want to delete one book or one resource, then I will use delete method. Then for updation we have two methods, one is put and another one is patch. Okay, put method we will use if we want to completely replace the existing resource, or if that resource doesn't exist, then we'll create a new resource, then we will use put method. And patch method we will use when we want to partially update any resource. Okay, so get method whenever we want to retrieve the current state of resource. Post method whenever we want to create a new resource. Delete method we will use to delete a resource. Put method we will use to replace a resource. Now in put and patch we have one difference. Put method we use to completely replace a resource, or if that resource doesn't exist, then it will create new resource. And in case of patch method, it will partially update a resource. Okay, so these all are HTTP method we use very frequently, so you should have understanding. So whenever you will create any REST API, so you need to use this method accordingly. Okay, now if you will say in place of when I am retrieving resource, so I should use get method. If I will use post method, so it will create error. In that case your answer will be no, it will not create error, but it will create a understanding gap between you and if someone using your API. Okay, so ideally we have some standard, like if we want to retrieve a resource, then we should use get method, and if you will use post method, then he will misunderstood like what your API exactly do. So you should always use most appropriate method. Okay, for example, when I started my career, many time I used put method in place of post, or post method in place of put method. In that case, my API was working, but it was creating a misunderstanding in front of someone using my API. Okay, so it's always recommended to use appropriate method. Next, we will see some HTTP status code. Okay, so here you can see whenever you will call any API, in a response you will get two major component. One will be HTTP status code, another one will be response. So response you will get based on your request, and a part of that you will get status code also. For example, you will get 200 if your API successfully completed whatever activity that API used to do. Like for example, if you want to retrieve information, if retrieval you means that API able to send successful response, then it will give 200. If I want to create any new resource using post method, if resource is created successfully, then that API will respond 201. Okay, in this case, similar way you will get 400 in case of bad request. For example, your API means whatever API is there, that API has some input format. For example, that API accepts JSON format of message and you are passing XML data. In that case, API will respond with bad request, or maybe in the input of that API, few fields are mandatory and you are not passing that mandatory field. Okay, in that case also you will get 400. Then next one is 401. If any API is secured API and we are calling that API with incorrect credential, then that API will give 401. Since that API is unable to authorize our request, in that case we will get 401. And if we are calling API with incorrect resource name, for example, we have created, so once we will do detailed discussion of API, like how to create RAML file and all, then you will be more clear on this point, but still you should have some basic understanding. So 404, when resource is not found, whenever you are calling API and that API is not available, so in that case you will get 404. Okay, and when that API is not available, or you can say there is some critical error, in that case you will get 500 in case of critical error. So we have done very theoretical discussion about API. So now I will show one demo API what I have created in my local. Okay, so you will be more clear when you will see that. Okay, let me create my, actually if you are completely beginner, then you may not have idea of this, what is this. So I have created one simple Mule application, or you can say Mule REST API. Okay, this API is up and running, and I will test this API with the help of Postman to understand what we discussed just now. Okay, what is this HTTP method, what is this status code, okay, and what all things we have discussed here. So to understand this kind of thing, I will call my API. So here you can see, whenever you want to call API, so first you need to select method. So my API, since I am using that API to retrieve resource, that's why I used get method. Okay, so what I want to retrieve, I want to retrieve all the routes for bus service and for this transport system, transport provider. So this one is First Coach is company. I want to retrieve route of all the bus of this First Coach company. Okay, so till this point we have host and port. So whenever we will call any API, we need to provide host and port, and then we need to provide URI. In URI, it can contain resource, URI parameter and query parameter. So this one is my resource, this one is my URI parameter, and this one is my base path. So you will have very good understanding once you will attend second class, but still you will get a basic knowledge of this. Now, as I told, for any API we have four important components. One is operation. So you can see here we are using get operation. Then input. So in input, actually for this API we are not passing any input. Okay, so maybe some API don't need any input, or input you can say, yeah, I am passing this two input in a URI parameter, where this one is transport type, bus is transport type, and this one is transport company name. So we are passing two input in URI parameter. And for any API we can pass input in multiple way. So first way we have query parameter. So either we can pass in query parameter, we can pass in URI parameter, we can pass inside header, and we can pass inside body. So we have four places. Whenever we will call any API, we can pass data. Okay, so based on our requirement we will pass data either in body, either in header, either in query parameter, or either in URI parameter. So here, based on my requirement, I am passing inside URI parameter and inside header also. So you can see I am passing this message ID for my tracking purpose inside this header. Okay, now when I will call this API, so what method I am using? Get method I am using to call this API, and in header I am passing message ID, and in URI parameter I am passing bus and first coach. Now I will call this API. Okay, so I am getting some response. Okay, so if you see here, operation, we are using we are retrieving root of particular company using get method. Input, we are passing message ID and we are passing transport type and transport company name. In output we are getting this, so we have this output. Okay, now you can see we are getting this status code. So as we discussed, we will define some method and we will get some status code. Just now we discussed about this 200. 200 means okay, the request succeed. Okay, means we call this API, from this API we received response successfully. That's why I am getting 200, and this one is my response. And next part is underlying data type. So you can see here we are getting response in the form of JSON payload. Okay, here also you can see our response in JSON format. So these all are four main component of any API. I hope everyone have good understanding now. Okay, now we will see one. Yeah, if anyone has any query, then you can ask. Okay, fine. Now we will see about one by one. We will see few status code. For example, what I am doing, I am creating scenario for bad request. So how I will create that? Since message ID is mandatory for my API, so while creating YAML file, I have given this kind of restriction, like if someone will call my API, then he must need to pass this message ID. Now what I will do, I will not pass this message ID while calling my API. Okay, so you can see here I am getting bad request. Why I am getting bad request? Since this message ID is mandatory and they are not calling this message ID while calling, they are not passing this message ID while calling my API. That's why we are getting 400. Okay, 400 one I am unable to use since I haven't provided any security on my API. Now 404, for example, instead of resource I am passing resource 1 and message ID I will pass. Now this resource 1 is not available for my API, and if I will call my API, you can see 404 means this resource is not available. Okay, so in this way my status code will change, and based on status code we will able to identify what's problem with this API. Okay, now I am calling with this and that resource is not available, that's why I am getting 401. So in this way you will create your mule application and you will test using Postman. So this whatever API I am calling I have created in Mule, and this API is up and running. Okay, and I am testing from Postman. Okay, so we are done with the basic of API. Since these all things we should know for this point, I am just giving basic knowledge, but later on we will take in detail knowledge. Okay, now we will learn about what all tools, software and application we need to know to work on MuleSoft. Okay, so first one is Anypoint platform. Okay, so this Anypoint platform we will use to create YAML file. We can create Mule application on Anypoint platform also, but whenever you will work on project you will use Anypoint Studio, since here we have limited capability to create any Mule application. Okay, so we will create YAML file, we can create Mule application, and we have lots of capability here. For example, we can deploy our Mule application, we can add security and all, we can manage our API. So all those kind of capability we have on Anypoint platform. Okay, I will give detailed knowledge now only. Then Anypoint Studio, we will use Anypoint Studio for development purpose. Once we will create YAML file, either we will publish that YAML on Exchange or we can download and we can use Anypoint Studio to create Mule application, or without YAML file also we can create Mule application. Okay, so that I will cover in next session. And then we have Mule runtime, so this we will use for deploying our Mule application. Once we will done with the development, so we will use Mule runtime to deploy our Mule application. Okay, so one by one we will discuss what is Anypoint platform in detail, then Anypoint Studio, then Mule runtime. Okay, so let me open first Anypoint platform. To open Anypoint platform you need to go anypoint.mulesoft.com. Okay, if you are first time user then you need to do sign up. If you are existing user, just give your user ID and password and do login, and this account is free for 1 month. Whenever you will do registration you can use this account for 1 month. After 1 month, if you want to use that account, then using same email ID again you can do registration, but your username must be changed there. Okay, so you can't use similar username multiple times, so every time you need to provide your new username. So what I will do, I will create one new account. So name I will give okay, so name, then email address, then phone number, then company name. If you are student you can give NA. Username, so username must be unique. Okay, so what I will do, I will use my email ID initial character. Okay, let me check. Okay, I will use some more number. So it must contain one upper character. Okay, and then click on I am not a robot. Okay, I agree term and condition. So you need to remember this user ID and password. Okay, and you will not get any kind of notification on email and mobile number. Then do accept and create account. Okay, so once you will create your account, you will be logged in inside your account. If you want to do login again, just go here, do sign out, and then okay, let me do it. And I already saved it. So I'm inside my Anypoint platform account. So one by one we will see all the capability of Anypoint platform. Actually this platform you can use to do basic development and all. You can do everything here, like you can develop, you can deploy, you can do everything here. But for development purpose, everyone will you should prefer Anypoint Studio. Okay, so one by one we will see all the capability of this Anypoint platform. So first one is Design Center. In Design Center you can create YAML file and you can create mule application. Okay, then Exchange. This Exchange is you can say it's a shared repository where you can keep your resource. Either you can share within your organization and you can share it publicly, and even you will able to find many more resource shared by MuleSoft and their third party. Okay, we'll see one by one. For now I am giving just high level. Then we have Management Center. Inside Management Center we have lots of capability like access management. So you can manage user, you can manage business group and do audit logs. Then API Manager, you can apply any policy. For example, you want to apply rate limiting policy. Rate limiting policy means whenever your API will up and ready, so any user will able to do in a minute that your API will means maximum your API will be called only 20 times or 30 times. Though then in that case you can apply rate limiting policy. So within a minute, if someone calling your API more than 30 times, he will get error message. He will not able to call your API. Since you know capability of your API, like within a minute how many requests it can handle, so you can apply rate limiting policy there. So in this way we have many policy inside API Manager. You can apply policy, you can apply SLA, traffic and alerts you can do inside API Manager. Similar way we have Runtime Manager where you can deploy, manage and monitor your application. Then we have Visualizer, Monitor, Secret Manager. So all of these are capability of Management Center. So we will see few of them, but not all. Okay, but you can learn, you can go through and you can see all the capability what API Management Center can do. Now at the end of this page you will able to see Anypoint Studio download page. Okay, so we will discuss about this download when we will start working on this Anypoint Studio. Okay, for now we will start with Design Center. So first click on this Start Design, or you can see here also you will able to see all those capability of Anypoint platform. Okay, either you can select Design Center here or you can click here. Okay, so since I created a new account, so nothing is available here. If I want to create YAML or if I want to create mule application, how we can do? So you can see here create new option. So we have first option, new API spec. If I want to create YAML file, okay, so let me tell about few things about YAML file. So whenever you want to create any REST API similar to visual file in SOAP application, in REST application we have YAML file where you can describe your API, like you can describe structure of your API. Okay, and it's always recommended whenever you want to create REST API in Mule application, first create YAML file and then create your Mule application. Since YAML file will describe your Mule application, like what will be input, what will be, so all those things like operation, input, output and underlying data type we will define here inside YAML file. So after seeing YAML file only, third party or anyone will able to understand what your API do. Okay, so if I click on this, I need to give some name. For example, I am giving demo YAML, or we can give any logical name. Then here they will ask you, I am comfortable design to on it on my own. So you can specify YAML type. Okay, so you can see YAML 1.0, 0.8. YAML 2.0 is not supported by Anypoint platform till now, and latest version of YAML is 1.0 is supported by Anypoint platform. Okay, so using this and guide me through it option, you can deselect it. Okay, then create API spec. So here we are providing YAML name and YAML version. Okay, then inside Design Center you will able to see here you will able to create your YAML file, and we have lots of capability, like we can do testing. Once we will create our YAML file, we can test our YAML file. We can test on this Anypoint platform itself, or we can test from Postman also. This topic I will cover in detail in third session. So just now I am showing like what all capability we have on Anypoint platform, and we will see each and means every capability one by one in detail. Okay, so first capability we have, we can create YAML file using this Design Center. Okay, now I will show you how we can create Mule application. Okay, again I will click on this create new. Here you can see we have new fragment option. If you want to create fragment, then I will select this option. If I want to create Mule application, then I will select this option. If I want to import any file from my local system, then I will use this import from file. Now I want to create one Mule application, so I will select this option. So it will ask application name. Okay, then create app. Okay, then since at the starting only it will ask trigger point, so I want to create my API as a REST API. So what I will use HTTP connector. Okay, so HTTP connector we will use if I want to expose my API as a REST API, or if I want to call any REST API, then we will use HTTP connector. Okay, then in operation, as I told, whenever you are creating any API, first thing will be operation. So operation I will select listener. Since I want, in HTTP connector we have listener and requester. Okay, so listener we will use when we want to expose our API as a REST API, and requester we will use whenever we want to call REST API. Since here I want to expose my API as a REST API, so operation I selected listener and then click on next. Then it will ask target. So in this example what I am going to do, I want to call REST API only. Okay, so again I will select HTTP and then I will use requester since I want to call REST API. Done. Okay, then it will ask about configuration of listener and all. Since I am not going to take in detail for now, that's why I am closing this. Okay, and I will go back. So in this way you can create Mule application in Design Center. So Design Center we have two capability. One, we can create mule application. Another one, we can create RAML file. And we have two more capability. One, we can create fragment, and another one, we can import any RAML or fragment or mule app. Okay, so we have four capability here in Design Center. So for now we are just discussing about capability, we are not going in detail. So in second day I will take this RAML creation and all. Okay, so we are done with Design Center, all the capability of Design Center. Now we will go to Exchange. So as I told, Exchange is a shared repository where either you can publish your assets. For example, whenever you will create your RAML file or whenever you will create your mule application, you can publish on Exchange, and that resource will be visible here, and you can share that resource within an organization or you can make it public. And you can see there are lots of resources provided by MuleSoft. So you can see here there are lots of connector. Okay, what all things are here you can see in type. So if you click on type, you can see when you will select connector, so all the connector will be visible here, what is provided by MuleSoft or any third party. Okay, then templates, you will able to see lots of template here, and you can use that template for your development. You can see lots of example also. So you can see example like creating a batch ETL integration, scatter gather flow control, hello world. So these all examples are available here. You can use any example for your learning purpose, or you can use in your project also. Then we have policy, API group, REST API, SOAP API. Okay, all these types available in our shared repository or shared resource. You can use any one of them. It can be for learning purpose, it can be for your real project, means you can use in your real-time project. Okay, so in Exchange you will able to see all the shared repository. It can be shared by you, or it can be provided by MuleSoft, or it can be shared by your organization. Then we have Management Center. Okay, inside Management Center we have lots of capability like access management. As I told, like you can manage access of your endpoint platform. Then API manager, you can apply policy and all. Runtime manager, you can deploy, monitor, everything you can do here. Visualizer, all this capability we have inside API Management Center. So I will go through this API manager. So once you will create any API, okay, then you will able to apply policy and all. So we have custom policy. Then okay, once you will deploy your application, you will able to see all the option like you can apply policy and all in this API manager. Okay, okay, so we are done with this Design Center, we are done with this Exchange. What all capability we have, we'll go through in detail one by one in later classes. Then inside Management Center, as I told, we have lots of capability. We can apply policy and all, we can manage users, business group, we can visualize, we can monitor. Okay, now we'll see about an Anypoint Studio. So once we will create our YAML file, okay, so once we will create our YAML file, either we can use this YAML file, sorry, this one, we can use this YAML file directly, or we can export this YAML file, or we can publish on Exchange. And then using this Anypoint Studio, what we can do, we can import that YAML file and we can create our Mule application. So we can create Mule application in two ways. Okay, first we can create our Mule application without using YAML file, and second one, we can create mule application using YAML file. Okay, so in day 2 we will learn about we will create mule application without using YAML file, and in day 3 first we will learn YAML file, how to create YAML file, and in day 4 we will learn how to create mule application using YAML file. Okay, so first how you will download this software and then how you will install. Okay, so if you go here, if you scroll down, you can see here Anypoint Studio. Okay, click on this download. Here also they will ask like 30-day trial, but you can use that software for lifetime. Okay, now it will ask for operating system. So since I am using Mac, so I will select Mac. For you, if you are using Windows or Linux, select related operating system and then click on I agree MuleSoft term and condition and download it. So in this package, what all things you will get? You will get Anypoint Studio 7, so you will get latest version of Anypoint Studio, that is 7.7, and Mule 4 means you will get Mule runtime. Okay, you will and you will get latest version of Mule runtime, that is 4.3. If anyone want older version of this Anypoint Studio and Mule runtime, then you will select this option. For example, you may use for example, in my project also I am using 4.1.4 Mule runtime. Okay, so I need to download from previous version. Okay, so you will click here and you will select related Anypoint Studio and Mule runtime. Okay, now then you will click on download, and it will take based on your internet speed, it will take some time to download that software. Okay, since I have already downloaded, so okay, so you can see here I already download this software, so I will just click on this and this software will start. So this one is Anypoint Studio 7.4, but latest version is 7.7. so once you will download, you will get 7.7. then it will ask workspace. Okay, so you can create new workspace or you can select default one. Okay, so I already started this. Let me close this first. I will start from here and let me create new workspace. Okay, so just click on continue to studio. So you will get this software. Now in this software you can see we have 3 plane, or you can say 5 to 6 plane, but we have important 3 plane. So in left side you can see package explorer, where you will get all the folder structure and all related to your project. Then here you will do development and all. This one is central plane, and here you will get all the Mule palettes. Okay, so once I will create one application, then I will get all the Mule component here, and in this area you will able to see your logs and all. So what I will do now, I will create one dummy project, then you will able to see all those capability, like where and all, what all things will do. So either you can select this create a Mule application, or you can select this file option, new option, and then Mule project. Okay, Then here you can see mule runtime. Okay, so this Anypoint Studio also contain integrated mule runtime. You need not require to install separate mule runtime to run your mule application. So inside this Anypoint Studio only we have integrated mule runtime, and this one is latest version. So mule runtime 4.3.0 is already there. Okay, now if I will create my mule application using YAML file, then we have three options from where I want to take my YAML file. Okay, this we will see later, since currently I am going to just create one dummy mule application. So in day 2 and day 4 you will able to see what all this capability we have, and then just click on finish. Okay, now you can see I created one mule application. So you first will understand few folders which all are important folders. So first one you can see here, src main mule. So this folder will contain mule configuration file, okay, where we will do our development and all. Okay, then second folder is src main java. Here you will write all your java code if required. Okay, for example, we have lots of component or mule processor, we have connector, but still there may be some requirement, you may have some requirement that you can't achieve using this existing mule processor and mule component. So in that case you need to write your java code. So you will write your java code inside this folder. Then resource folder, this folder will contain all the resources. For example, whatever API and all you will create, you will use to create this mule application, all API will be there. If you have any other resource, for example any property file and all, any examples file and all, you will keep inside this resource folder. This two text java and test resource is means whatever demo things or dummy data you want to keep, you can keep here. Then you can see here JRE system library. This folder will contain all the library required to run your mule application. Okay, by default your mule application will use two connector. Okay, so I am giving some detail about mule connector. If someone from different background like another integration technology, so for this connector we use term like adapter to connect with external system. So whenever we want to connect with any external system, we need either connector or adapter. So in MuleSoft we say connector. So by default MuleSoft, whenever you will create any mule application, two connectors will be included in your project. One is HTTP and another one is socket. Okay, that's why you can see one library for HTTP and one library for socket. If you will remove from here, then this library will be removed from here. Okay, then we have this log4j file we use for managing our log. Okay, we will learn about this in detail in later classes. And then we have form file. In form file we will include all the dependency what we are going to use in our project. For example, currently we are using HTTP and socket connector. Okay, so you can see dependency for HTTP and socket connector in this form file. So if you go dependency, first one is for first dependency we have for HTTP connector, for this connector. Okay, second dependency we have for MuleSocket. So you can see we added two connector. So for those two connector, whatever dependency we need, we will see inside this form file. Okay, so this is all about folder structure. Now we'll see this. First we will see this mule palette, then we will see how to do development and all. Okay, so in mule palette, first we will discuss about this core section. In core section you can see all the mule processor. For example, I want to create variable, then I will use this mule set variable. If I want to create payload, then we will use this payload. And payload is similar to body. Okay, so whatever we use term body, so same thing we have set payload here. Okay, so using whatever we will pass in our body for calling this API will come inside payload. Okay, and if I want to set any payload, we can use this variable. Then we can use this remove variable to delete any variable. Then we have lots of capability here: until successful, try block, subflow, parallel, for each. Okay, then we have multiple choice here. Choice we will use for if else condition. First successful we have round robin, scatter gather. Scatter gather we will use for parallel processing. Okay, now if I want to do error handling, then we have 4 component here, or you can say 4 mule processor. We have error handler, on error continue, on error propagate, raise error. If I want to create my application scheduler base, then we have scheduler. Okay, so we have logger. If I want to put any log and all, then we will use logger. If I want to create batch job, if we want to do batch job and all in our process, we want to run our process in a job, then we will use this batch job, batch step and batch aggregator. So one by one we will learn about all the components. For now I am just giving high level overview. Okay, since when we will start using, so you will have understanding what all component we will get where. Okay, then in Favorite you will get all the component what you will use very frequently, and you can make any component favorite. Okay, and then that component will come here, or that mule processor will come here. Next one, we have add modules. So inside add modules you will able to see frequently used connector, means what connectors we will use very frequently. For example, to connect with FTP system we have FTP connector. To connect with local file system we have file connector. To connect with JMS system we have JMS connector. Okay, to connect with NetSuite system we have NetSuite connector. To connect with Salesforce we have Salesforce connector. To connect with ServiceNow we have ServiceNow connector. To connect with Workday we have Workday connector. To connect to call any SOAP web service we have web service consumer. So in this way we have lots of connector you will get here what you use very frequently. Okay, now in MuleSoft we have 200 plus connector. Okay, now you will see I am unable to see all the connectors here. Then how we will use that connector? In MuleSoft we have 200 plus connector. Okay, so what you can do in that case, so you will go to search in Exchange. Okay, and whatever account you used or you created for this Anypoint platform, do login with that account. So here you will click on add account. Okay, now I will give my username and password. Okay, once you will do sign in, you will able to see your username here. If you sign in with multiple account, then you will able to see all those account here. Okay, now I want to use any connector which is not available here, and I want to use that connector. So what I will do, for example, I want to use Azure connector, Azure Blob Storage connector. Okay, so you will type this name and you will click enter. So you will able to find all those connector. Okay, so for example I want to use Microsoft Azure Storage connector. I selected this and I will click add. Once you will click on add, it will ask to finish. Okay, so once you will do finish, then you will able to see that connector here. Initially we had HTTP and socket only. Now you will able to see that new connector, Azure Storage connector, and this connector has lots of operation like add entity, add message. So we have multiple operation. As I told, any API has operation similar to that. This connector has also operation. So whatever operation you want to use, you can drag and drop. Okay, so in this way you can add new connectors. Now what I will do, how we will use whatever mule palettes we have, whatever mule processor we have, how we will use that. Okay, so just click on this mule configuration file. For example, I want to create my mule application as a REST API. So what I will use, I will select this listener and I will drop here. So automatically it will create one mule flow. Inside this flow we have two parts, source and process. So inside source you will get all the connector, okay, or whatever source system you want to. So I want to expose my mule application as a REST API, so I use this listener. And then whatever component you want to use to complete your functionality for this mule application, you can drag and drop one by one. For example, I want to create two variables, so I will drag and drop two variables. I want to set payload, so I will drag and drop set payload. I want to run one loop, so I will drag and drop loop. Okay, so we will configure it in proper way tomorrow, since we need to discuss few more basic thing. Okay, so just now I am giving a high level overview like how you will use this Anypoint Studio. Okay, I am not creating actual application, so we will create actual application in day 2. Okay, so I hope everyone clear with this Anypoint Studio software, how to see, how to create project, how you will use components, mule component, where and all you will able to find all component. Okay, apart of this we have few more capability, like you can see inside Windows, if you want to reset your perspective, okay, so you can customize it and you can start with initial one what we have right now. Okay, and after that if you want to deploy, so you just do right clicks. As I told, this software contain integrated mule runtime, so you can run it directly, since there are many errors right now. So if I will do run, then it will throw some error. Okay, just save it. Okay, so here you can see console will come and you will able to see all the log and all. So since we have lots of errors, so it will give error and deployment will be failed. Okay, so in this way we have integrated mule runtime, so you need not require to take a headache of installing your mule runtime separately. You can use this for your learning purpose. Even in your project also you can use integrated mule runtime for local testing. Okay, so slowly we will able to understand all the other component we have inside this Anypoint Studio. Okay, so you can see in log we are getting failed since we have some error. In next day we will create properly and we will not have error, and then it will be success. Then we will test this using Postman. Okay, so we are done with Anypoint Studio. Next we will learn about this mule runtime. As I told, whenever you will complete development of your mule application, you need one server where you can run your mule application. So in that case we will use mule runtime, since Anypoint Studio has integrated mule runtime. Okay, so we will use that capability and we will run our mule application in Anypoint Studio only. Okay, so we will not use separate mule runtime. But if you want to see, so as I told, when you will download, you will get this mule runtime. Okay, and you can start this and you can deploy your application here. So inside app folder, your application, whenever you will deploy any application, you will get your application inside app folder. Okay, so you will see we have multiple folder. You have log. Okay, you can see log folder. Here you will get all the logs and all. Inside library you will get all the resources. Okay, so once you will start this, so there is 2-3 line step to start this. Okay, I will show once, but currently we will do our deployment in integrated mule runtime only. Okay, so we have this integrated mule runtime, so we can deploy inside Endpoint Studio only. Now we will discuss about API LED architecture. Okay, so whenever you will start working on any real-time project, in most of the project you will follow this API LED architecture, where for each functionality, for example, whatever functionality you will get, you will divide that functionality in 3 layers, in 3 API, and then you will do development. Okay, so your first layer will be system API. Okay, so for example, in a single functionality you need to connect with 3 systems. So what you will do, you will create 3 system API to connect with each external system. So system API is responsible for connecting with external system. Okay, for Salesforce system, to connection with Salesforce system, I created one system API. For SAP system, to connection with a SAP system, I created one SAP customer system API. Okay, and this one may be our internal application. So to connect with any internal application, we will create one more system API. So system API will be responsible for connecting with external system. Okay, so on top of this system API, there will be process API. So whatever business logic we want to apply in our functionality, for example, we are doing development of one to achieve one business, okay, or you can say to achieve one business requirement. Okay, so for that particular business requirement, whatever business logic we want to apply, we will apply in this process API. Okay, and in experience API, for different experience system, for example, currently we have web application. So for this web application, we will create this experience API. In future, if there will be any mobile application, that mobile application may need different set of data. So if we will use same experience API, then unnecessarily we are passing maybe extra data, or we are not passing some required data. So in that case, what we will do, we will add one more experience API for different experience system. So for different experience system, we will create experience API. For handling all the business logic, we will create process API. And to connect with external system, you can see here we have 5 external system. For connection of for all different system, we will create different system API. Okay, and most of the project in MuleSoft follow this API LED architecture, where we will divide in 3 parts. For each business requirement, we will divide that requirement in 3 parts, and then we will do development. Okay, now here you can see we are using our code also. So you can see this experience API and this experience API using this process API. Okay, this system API is used by this process API and this process API. So in this, so we can see here, actually we are following a kind of microservice architecture here. So we are dividing our entire work in small module, and we are reusing that module. Okay, and based on layer, we will give name. If we are connecting with external system, then we will provide system API. If we are connecting with if we are apply any business logic, then we will apply all business logic in process API. And to connect with different heterogeneous system, or you can see experience system, we will use experience API. Okay, I hope everyone clear with this API LED architecture, what all layers we have and what is the responsibility of each layer. Okay, and last topic, we have this API development lifecycle. Okay, so from tomorrow we will start working on this API development lifecycle, So I'm just giving one high level overview of this also. So whatever topic we discussed today, I have just given you high level overview, since we will use all those term and component in our development and all, and then at that time I will give you detail like. So this one is all about API development lifecycle. So in API development lifecycle, we will start from design. So in design, what we will do, we will create one YAML file. So in day 3, we will create one YAML file. Then once you will create your YAML file, you will simulate it, means we will publish on Exchange. Then your client, or you can say your business VA people will validate that YAML on Exchange. If they will give positive feedback, means you will validate that feedback. If they will give positive feedback, then you will go for development. If you will get some negative feedback, like they are not okay with that YAML file, as I told, YAML file contain the complete description of your Mule application, like what all operation will be there, what will be input, what kind of output that API will give, okay, what all data format that API will support. If they will give negative feedback, then again you need to do design, then simulate, then again you need to take feedback. If you will get positive feedback and your validation is passed, then you will go to development. For development, we can use Anypoint platform also, but as I told, Anypoint platform has limited capability, okay, that's why we will do development on Anypoint Studio, okay. So we will use this software Anypoint Studio for development, and then once we will complete with development, we will do testing. It can be local testing and it can be MUnit testing. MUnit testing is an integrated part of this Anypoint Studio, so you can do MUnit testing there, or we can do local testing using Postman. Once we will done with our unit testing or whatever testing we need, then we will do versioning of our API. We will secure our API. As I told, we can apply SLA policy and all. We will deploy and register our API. Once deployment and registration done, we will monitor our API. We will analyze. So all these capability we have inside Management Center. We can troubleshoot, we can scale, and we can respond. So this is all about API development lifecycle. Okay. So in day 3, we will start with this YAML. Since in day 2, actually I have planned without, so we will start build directly without using YAML file. Okay, so you will have some basic understanding of API. Then we will start with YAML file. Then again we will create YAML file. We will publish on Exchange. We will take feedback. We will validate, and then using Anypoint Studio we will do development. Okay. So I am done with my all the presentation. So if you have any doubt, then you can ask.